What an adorable book to start off with. It is Blindsided by Amy Daws. And yeah, it's not the first in the series, but y'all, I'm just going by what Amazon tells me is the most popular and most reviewed. And this one is it. I'm not mad about it. It's definitely in the middle of a series. There are a bunch of other couples who I'm sure have books of their own that are wonderful. This is the one I started with. And it made my heart happy. So this is a friends to lovers, not grumpy sunshine. He's like really adorable, but plus size, awkward girl, fit football player. So it feels very much like When Grumpy Met Sunshine, except there's not a grumpy sunshine. It, I know. You've got Mac and Freya, MMC, FMC, and they are best friends. They hang out, they watch Netflix. They are pretty much in each other's lives constantly, except only in Freya's apartment. She's kind of like his secret friend, and she's got a lot of insecurities that go with that. So they're like plot point, they fake date. Okay, they don't fake date. He is gonna be your dating coach because she's awkward at dating. She wants a date for their mutual friend's wedding. So he agrees to be her dating coach and then her kissing coach and then to take her V card. And then, of course, they fall in love. Look, this book, there were moments when I really screamed because, come on, y'all, you're meant to be together. It's beautiful, and I want more for you than you're giving for each other. However, they were so much fun to watch. The best friends thing that they have going on led to some really vulnerable and interesting conversations between the two of them. Obviously, there's chemistry, and I am a sucker for a fake dating, I'm going to coach you, we're going to practice kissing kind of situation because it always ends well. It always ends well in my mind. And that's I will never say no to that. Freya is adorably awkward, and I mean that. I like her. She's a weird kind of cat person, but the banter, it's not even the banter, it's the mind chatter of Freya. Like, oh my gosh, even his ankles are fit. Okay, cool. That's fun. And the progression that they go on when they kind of break the seal from friends to dating to kissing to lovers is really fun to watch. I had a great time with this book. I don't know what else to say about it, and except I just I thoroughly enjoyed myself while reading this. And yeah, there were moments at the end where I'm like, no, just talk to each other and fix this. Talk to each other and communicate your feelings and your expectations. I know. Just that's that's a thing. I'll also say I don't remember it being a long wait for them to fix it. In terms of pages, if you're reading, weeks go by and they're in emotional agony. However, for my experience, it happened lickety split. And I'm always grateful for that kind of resolution because I don't want to sit in that awkward, sad, mopey, why am I not with you kind of situation or kind of feeling. That is never an interesting place for me to be. So if you're looking for some fluff, or if you liked When Grumpy Met Sunshine, but you're looking for more of a friends to lovers kind of situation, or you just like Amy Daws, she's got clearly a whole host of books and couples that I should have read before I got to this one. Check out Blindsided. Gilded Princess by Penelope Black. I got a beef with this. It is labeled as a reverse harem novel. However, the harem does not come into fruition in this book. It is a 4-book series. This is book 1, but I'm feeling like I did with Lords of Darkness, where I didn't get what I was promised. I can see that it's starting. It's there. We've got Madison or Maddie, Mateo, Dante, Leo, and Aries. We don't really know much about it yet. However, they don't form their relationship in this book. And for me, that means it's not a reverse harem. It's just a a flirt. It's a good flirt. There's burn. It is slow. It is sensual. I really enjoyed a lot of this book, but I'm bitter. I'm bitter about that reverse harem thing because I wanted it. It's what I was looking for. Penelope Black also has another series that predates this one. So I felt a little lost having not read Lainey's books and watched her group of reverse harem situation come into fruition. But that's okay. I got it. I understood what was happening in this story, so I didn't feel lost. Like I said, we've got Maddie, Mateo, Dante, Leo, and a secret Aries thrown in there. And Maddie and Mateo have a history. Dante is Mateo's best friend. Leo is Mateo's younger brother. And Aries, I won't spoil it for you because I haven't read the second book. And the thing that I liked best about this book was watching Maddie step into her own what she wanted, and start to think about how she would get it. So the idea of a harem, or a wide choose, I'm going to use both terms. I use harem here because this book calls it a harem. But that idea really appeals to Maddie. And so she spends time in this book thinking about what she wants, what she likes, how she steps into her own power, how does she feel. She even thinks about the feelings of the men she's currently attracted to and wanting to involve in this. I'm going to call it a situationship because you haven't had a conversation yet. And that's fun to watch. That's interesting to watch because it's an important step. No one really steps into the world and thinks, ah, yes, I shall involve myself in polyamory and I will have me and multiple male partners. That doesn't happen. There's a reckoning that has to go through that, for the most part, because we live in this society that tells you that monogamy is the only answer, it is the only decent answer, and everything else is terrible. It's not. It's a choice. If you're a grown-ass adult about it, it can be a beautiful choice. If you're not a grown-ass adult about it, you can fuck up just as much as you would if you were pretending to be monogamous. Okay. Soapbox. Gonna get off of it. But I feel like I'm missing more of the story, almost like I did with Lust, Envy, and Wrath, that I have to keep reading to feel like the book is, it doesn't even feel like the book is finished. Yes, we've got a cliffhanger, but I feel like I want more of the book itself, that it wasn't finished. It was almost like a novella. And I wanted to feel like I'd earned that pause, that break, that stop point, and I don't necessarily feel like I've earned it yet. Now, if you've read the rest of these books, tell me, it might be that I just have to keep going and finish this series and treat it as one whole book, one whole story. That's a thing that I'm starting to notice. It's okay. I'm a big girl. I can put my big girl panties on. That's fine. But when I finish it, I just kind of went, oh, all right, I guess it ended, because it ends on a very dramatic cliffhanger. So if you're someone who's got the time to commit to all 4 books, I would recommend starting this. If you've only got time in your TBR to squeeze in one, maybe hold off. I don't want you to feel this sense of dissatisfaction or unfinished that I have. And but all 4 are out, so you don't even have to wait for them. It's not like you have to wait for the next book to be released. That's the most frustrating part. I don't have time to read the next 3 books. I'm plowing through my TBR of these authors for this conference, and I got to get to the other ones. But I did enjoy it. I need to get this off my chest. The title and the description of this book made me mad. If you're going to tell me that something is a modern day Cinderella retelling, it needs a ball. It needs a makeover. It needs a prince, higher up person. It needs someone to facilitate said makeover. It needs a fairy godmother-ish figure. You need that. It's not Cinderella unless that happens. This book does not possess that. It is essentially a Pretty Woman retelling. And when I mentioned that, someone said, well, isn't Pretty Woman a Cinderella story? No, because it doesn't have those plot points. It doesn't. I know. He shows up in a limo and climbs to the top of. No, it is not Cinderella. It isn't. Or it's not close enough that you can then adapt it and still call it Cinderella. It's like adapting Clueless into a different kind of story and still calling it Emma. It doesn't work. You're missing basic plot points. If you had said this was a Pretty Woman retelling, I would have been totally fine. If you had said this was a rock star romance, I would have been totally fine. But the Cinderella part pissed me off, and it took me a while to get over. If I haven't mentioned it already, the book is The Right Man. Like I said, it is a Pretty Woman retelling. You've got Jewel, who is our prostitute, and Rush, who is a rock star. Instead of a businessman, he is a rock star, and he meets Jewel, and they have a night. And honestly, I think I was so annoyed by the whole Pretty Woman and not Cinderella part that I highlighted very little in this book. It is so shocking how fast Rush falls. It is so surprising how deep this goes, how quickly. And I was not able to suspend my disbelief because I think I was mad. So I hope that what I have gifted you is the right perspective when you read this book, because it wasn't bad. It's really spicy. They work to form a relationship. They both have emotional baggage to overcome, and you watch them handle their stuff separately and together as a couple. But I was really mad about it. And I think because I was mad, I didn't get the insta love kind of situation that it was supposed to be. There's so much spice in this book. Some of it, y'all, I didn't even highlighted 5 things in this book. I remember it being really spicy. It was really spicy, but I don't remember the spices being terribly memorable. If rags to riches, if rockstar romances are your thing, absolutely, this is going to be a great read for you. If you're looking for someone to overcome emotional baggage on both ends, this is going to be a great book for you. If you want to watch someone totally overcome a terrible history and find someone who won't judge her or him for their past, this is going to be a great book for you. For me, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a petty bitch. That Cinderella part really made me mad. I kept waiting for those next kind of plot points to come, and they never did. So, if there's one piece of advice that I can give you, don't think of this as Cinderella. It is Pretty Woman. There are sweet moments. There are really frustrating moments. There are super spicy moments. And you get that happily ever after at the end. So, is this book worth it? Totally. Totally worth a read. Was it worth it for me? I wish I could read it without any. I wish I could do it again. The Keeper, The Keeper was fun. This was a fun read. I Let me just put that out there. Bella Matthews, her family tree did not work on my phone, and I was too lazy to go to my computer, so I just went, fuck it. I don't need to know who anyone is. It's probably a mistake because this is the latest in a very long line of novels in this world and in this family. And I just kind of went with it without any backstory whatsoever. And y'all, I needed a backstory. However, I really liked it. I had a blast with this book, with this couple, and the will they, won't they. How the hell did this happen? That was a blast to watch. Okay, so this one is Lindy and Easton. Lindy has been in love with Easton ever since she was a teenager. Easton has been like overly protected, but totally like in love with Lindy, but she's too young for him, so he's not in love with her for years and years and years. And they're in Vegas with this group of friends who I don't know who they are. I have no idea who they are. Just whoo, right over my head. And she wakes up the next day totally having blacked out, married to Easton, and she's mad and she's confused and she has no idea what's happening. And he's hurt and confused because he does remember what happened. So they go home. Well, Lindy goes home, and then Easton, oh, he's a hockey player. Yeah, because I just believe things with hockey players. This is one of those things I just believe. He goes and does a midseason trade to be with her in outside of Philly, where she is for her family's hockey team. Y'all, I'm sure there's an explanation for all of these things, all of these relationships in other books, but this is not that book. So he moves to be with her and says, I won't give you an annulment until you remember our wedding. I won't do it. Which, of course, we know that he's in love with her and we know that she's in love with him. And she's just mad because she doesn't remember and she feels like what happened, how this would never have happened. How dare we? And there's so much family drama. Oh my God, her family is so dramatic and I don't know who anyone is. I'm like, y'all, this is a lot, people. This is a grown-ass adult who, yes, at 23 got married to a 28-year-old guy that you've known your like most of his life. You shouldn't be freaking out like this. And Lindy gets so mad about the reaction, as she should, that she is almost forced to become the grown-up they don't treat her as. She steps away from her family, she sets boundaries, she demands really equality from her siblings, which is so important if you're the baby of the family, to get people to treat you as an adult. Easton, oh, poor man, especially when you get to the flashback of their wedding. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine having gone through that and then having your wife wake up the next morning not remembering it and being mad and being separate. So it all works out. If you were worried, it all works out in the end. And they're a real love story. There's real intentionality with their marriage and with their relationship. And so, oh, it's very sweet to watch that happen. There, Lindy is a virgin, and there is some, the deflowering of all of that, which not bad of deflowerings. This was a perfectly fine one, but it really was watching Easton wait for her and Lindy remember that made this exciting for me. And it was something new. I didn't expect this. I've read Oh No, I Got Married in Vegas Accidentally. I've got the Dark King over there. That one was fun. But the history between the two of them and the family history that I don't know, but I just kind of rolled with, what made this more dynamic and the stakes a little bit higher. So I totally rooted for these two. Yeah, read this. Continue the series. Figure out who these people are. I might have to go back to the beginning. Shout out to the Chicago Public Library System for getting me a copy of Powerful within a couple days of its release. They are just on it. So snappy. I feel so grateful that I have access to this library, that I have been as high on the waiting list as possible when these books have come out, because I got to read it. It is a short book. So number one, Powerful. Hold on, let me get it. Let me get it. Okay. So number one, this book is teeny tiny. It's a little small book, especially because it's a hardcover, and Powerless was a normal sized hardcover book. This is miniature sized, and it's short. It's only 220 pages. Now, I'm going to try and not spoiler alert the end of this, but if you have read Powerless, you know what happens to A. You know this is her story. So there is an ending that we know. We know what happens to her, but this is the story that leads up to it. This is her experience during the trials. And she meets a boy. He's 19, so I can call him a boy, right? Yeah, Mac. Mac is a boy. So Adina and Mac are FMC, MMC. Mac finds her and enlists her to help him break into the facility because he is connected to Hera and he did not get to say goodbye, and he wants to essentially escape with her. He wants to break into the palace, take Hera, and escape with her away from this country. And he enlists Adina to sew him a uniform of the guards. It is Grumpy Sunshine. Mac is Perpetual Grump. Adina is Sunshine. Loved it. Loved her. And this was so sweet and so heartbreaking. Both of them have a history. Both of them have secrets. I don't want to, this, I can't even believe I'm saying this. I don't want to spoil her. Like Powerless, there's no spice. Okay, I'm going to spoil this when they do kiss. I know, which is terrible. If, having read Powerless and there's nothing, not even a lip lock, a kiss was really exciting to me reading Powerful. I know, who would have thought I'd be so excited about a kiss, but I was. And I feel like Mac is going to play a really important role in future stories, which is why he needed to be introduced in this book. But if you've read Powerless, you know how this one's going to end.